following is the procedure for public comment and participation. Individuals wishing to speak on agenda items must complete a sign-up card prior to the item being introduced. Those wishing to speak on quasi-judicial public hearings must complete a sign-up card and sign the oath. Sign-up and oath cards are available on the table. Individuals wishing to speak on non-agenda items may do so under petitions and requests from the public present. This opportunity is offered twice in the meeting, and individuals may speak at either the first or second petitions, but not both. No sign-up card is required. Citizens shall not comment on any issue more than once during the meeting. All comments except petitions and requests must address the pending issue, and citizens will be given 3 minutes to speak on agenda items. Next, citizens wishing to speak on the consent agenda must submit a sign-up card identifying the items of interest. Each speaker shall be limited to 3 minutes to speak on the entire consent agenda. And finally, all sign-up cards and exhibits being submitted to the City Council shall be placed in the box on the table.
The purpose of the City Council meeting is to discuss city business, and proper decorum must be displayed by all in attendance. Public input and participation is encouraged. However, all persons in attendance shall comply with the rules for meeting procedures and shall refrain from any action that disrupts the orderly proceedings of the council meeting or hinders a council from performing its duties. No person shall interfere with the rights of others to speak, hear, see, or attend the proceedings, make threats of violence, disrupt the proceedings with shouting, fail to confine remarks to the agenda item under consideration, nor continue to speak after the allotted speaking time has expired, as these actions shall be considered disruptive and disorderly. The mayor shall caution any person who violates these provisions and disrupts the orderly proceedings of the council meetings, and they shall be directed to comply. Any person who fails to comply, as cautioned, shall be ruled out of order, shall forfeit the remainder of their speaking time on the agenda item under consideration, and will be requested to return to their seat. Persons who fail to comply as directed shall be subject to removal from the council chambers by law enforcement or such other actions as may be reasonably necessary to enforce these regulations. Notwithstanding, the mayor may order the immediate removal of any person from the chambers who possesses a threat to property or life safety. Nothing in this section shall be construed to limit or restrict a person's right created by the Constitution, law, ordinance, or regulation.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the City of Titusville City Council regular meeting scheduled June 9th, 2026 at 6:30. I call this meeting to order. For our invocation, we will have Chaplain Brianne Robertson from Titusville Titusville Fire Department. My apologies.
Will you bow your heads with me, please?
Heavenly Father, we thank you that you are great in power. We thank you that everything in heaven and on earth belong to you. We thank you that riches and might come from you and from your hand. We thank you that you grant strength and courage to those who call on you. Father, nothing is too small for you. Nothing escapes you. Nothing is too big and too impossible for you. We thank you that you are sovereign in all things. Father, I ask that you will grant every leader in this room, every member, every community person, citizen, wisdom and discernment. Father, may you cover this room with your peace. God, may you hear the cries of our heart. May you hear the praises of our tongues. And we want to give you credit for everything that's going on. Father, our desire is that you cover our city with your protection and your favor. And we ask that we are a people who recognizes that you are God and God alone. So tonight, as we conduct this meeting, we give you praise, we give you honor, in all things in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
A motion by Member Nelson.
Second.
Second by Member Moscoso. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Now, there are two items on the agenda tonight that are both requesting a continuance, 9C and 9D. Conditional use permit number 6-2025, River Palms 2. If it be up to the discretion of council, if we want to move that to the front, get it off our docket and continue with our meeting. Member Nelson?
That makes sense. So I'd move 9C and D to the front.
A motion by member Nelson,
Second.
second by member Stokel. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, city manager, we're on 9C.
Yes, sir. 9C is a conditional use permit, CUP number 6-2025, River Palms 2. And Brad Parrish is here to answer any questions, and we need to open up the hearing.
Before I begin, the applicant has asked for this application to be continued to the August 25th meeting, pending additional information they would like to provide to City Council for their consideration.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parrish. City Attorney?
No, I'm sorry. Mistake. Sorry.
All right. Any cards on this issue?
On item.
9C.
Okay. Yes, we have Lisa Tolan.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Toland. My address is 4092 Sparrowhawk Road, Melbourne, Florida. I'm with Toland Environmental Consulting. I was asked today by Kim Rizanka, who is the attorney representing the project, to come and ask for the continuance. Unfortunately, she had a very severe family emergency at the last minute, and she could not attend. But basically, we are asking for the continuance of the item to the August 25th regular meeting. So that we can conduct additional seagrass surveys, because there was some confusion out of the P&Z board meeting. And I think there were some other issues that needed to be addressed regarding the site plan. And so we wanted to have the opportunity to do the seagrass surveys as the growing season is just opening up, and will peak probably, beginning of July. And then we'll have the data back for you in August.
Thank you very much. City Clerk, any other cards?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. Member Nelson?
So I'd move to table this item to August 25th.
Second.
I have a motion by member Nelson, a second by member Stokel. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. City Manager, on to 9D.
Yes, sir. 9D is a conditional use permit, number 9-2025, parcel ID number 21-35-28-00-279. And the recommended action is a request for a conditional use permit to allow a convenience store at that parcel within the community commercial CC zoning district.
So this agenda item was brought before the Planning and Zoning Commission. They also received a request to continue it. It was, P&Z continued their hearing to June 17th. And that would mean this item before you tonight, the applicant is requesting it be tabled to or continued to your next regular meeting, which would be July 14th.
Thank you, Mr. Parrish. City Attorney? Your light's on.
Oh, it was, no, sorry.
Oh, somebody else's light's on.
It was someone else's one,
All right.
city manager.
That's going to get confusing. All right, I'll have to distinguish which city attorneys, which one of you. But is the city clerk, are there any cards on this?
Kyle Shasting.
Good evening, Kyle Shasteen, 4450 West Oak Alley Boulevard. I'm with Bowman Engineering. I was asked by Kim Rizanka to attend tonight. She had a family emergency. Our team is requesting the continuance because we're still working on the site plan. We've made a couple changes since the last one submitted, and we just want to make sure that it aligns with staff before moving forward through this process.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
City clerk, are there any other cards? All right, thank you. Member Nelson?
Move to continue, table this to July 14th meeting.
Second.
Motion by member Nelson to continue this to July 14th, and a second by member Moscoso. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Mr. City Manager, you're up.
Yes, sir. Next item is item 5, special recognitions and presentations. and it is the Urban Forestry Management Plan. And we have a representative from EOSIN Environmental Group will give a presentation on the Urban Forestry Management Plan, and no action is requested at this meeting. We'll come back at a later meeting for council consideration of adoption.
All right, am I all right technology-wise? The plan's up there? Great. Well, thank you guys for having me. I will try to make this brief because I know you have a ton on your agenda. So anyways, I wanted to thank you again. We've been working on this plan for, gosh, over a year now with input from the community, volunteers, the TEC, city staff. And as you know, it was funded through a partnership, right? Grant money between the city and the state of Florida Urban Community Forestry Grant. So tonight, I will walk through what we found, what the residents told us as well, and how the plan is structured and what would happen next. So, first up, and I always apologize when I come to this because your screens are small, so hopefully you guys can read this. But essentially, what is in the plan? The city of Titusville already has a pretty solid foundation. You guys have been a tree city for over 25 years. You have the active trust fund, you have an ordinance, you have some really engaged volunteers who did not miss a single meeting or event I came to, which is so appreciative. What really has been missing from kind of my initial review was this coordinated framework that connects all these commitments and this foundation to measurable outcomes. So that's what we attempted to provide in this plan. And just so we know, when we're talking about urban forestry, sometimes it's a little bit of a buzzword, but what it really means is we're talking about all the trees. So not just the trees the city controls, not just trees in parks. It also covers all your public and private trees, right? So trees that are in people's backyards throughout the whole entire city. And we're looking at a pretty long-term 20-year horizon. So it's built around what residents told us actually mattered to them. So one of the big things you do is see how our urban forestry goals align with existing city plans. And so we do kind of a needs and gaps assessment on that. And we had really good alignment overall, specifically with the Sustainability Action Plan and the Natural Resources Plan, which essentially called for an urban forestry program. A couple of the other plans, such as the CRA, talked about street trees. The comp plan's conservation element was a really close alignment as well. And then there were some things in the multimodal and stormwater plans that really benefit from a lot of the actions that we're recommending in the urban forest management plan. And if you see the UFMP, that is urban forest management plan. So making sure that we understand the intent is that this is not a new initiative that's going to compete with these other great city plans you have and other priorities. It fills a gap that some of these existing plans have already identified. So changing gears just a little. So part of what we did was look at the canopy cover throughout the city. And you guys have right now 44% canopy cover. That's based on an aerial view, right? So other things you might look at would be bare soil, impervious surfaces, and that does not include the Indian River Lagoon. We kind of cut that off right there. So that's actually a pretty strong position in Florida, in my opinion, compared to other cities. We look at some of the benefits you get, $6 million in annual ecosystem benefits. And if anything, that number specifically is conservative because it's really just measuring these like carbon and stormwater, air pollution. So we're not talking about some of the less tangible value of trees themselves. And then the $122 million is that carbon that is stored in the trees throughout their lifetime. So not small numbers by any means. And they really, for Titusville, I think, represent years of investment in public trees and years of investment in residents that take care of their own trees, right? All right, so just because I said that 44 is pretty good %, I don't want us to think that the city should be complacent, because you have lost a significant, statistically speaking, a significant amount of tree canopy. So a little over 6 percentage points in the last 13 years, mainly driven by development and storms, right? And to the extent we can't really control storms, so that's just, it's a primary driver. Some conversion of the forested areas into lawns, buildings, roads. The other part we looked at was how much of the land currently is plantable. So where could you theoretically have a tree while cutting out areas that are water or occupied by a building or another tree is 1 foot away, and we still got 13%. So there is room to get your canopy back up closer to that 2010 level. And out of that 13%, when we analyze the size of those locations, over half of them were able to support large canopy trees that really provide the most benefits to the city residents. That the millions that we were talking about, that upping those numbers is important. So the opportunity we have in Titusville to grow the canopy is real. The data tells that story, real and measurable. All right, so here's what we did for our engagement. We started out with a community survey. Right when we did that was when you guys had a flood, so we had a lower engagement level than we expected because people had other priorities, completely understandable. So that's why we ended up doing the flash vote poll, which actually served to reinforce some of the findings in the survey. And then in person, we had a vision workshop where we developed in groups 3 different vision statements that went to a public vote. We had an in-person SWOT, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats assessment. So in-person assessment of that. And then on April 30th, we had the public draft preview, we'll call it, with the TEC. And to note that at the TEC, we had a couple of big takeaways that I think changed the plan for much the better, related to ordinance guidance and recommendations, making sure that the timing of that was not necessarily a fixed thing, but taking into account that it can be difficult and time consuming to get ordinances changed. If that was to happen, that it would have to be when the conditions in the community really supported it, not necessarily in a fixed timeline. The other thing we changed were some species diversity threshold. They kind of moved more into a guidance realm and will be left for the city to set themselves. So there are benchmarks, and we can say these are typical, but the city can look at what they actually have and develop something unique to them. You can see that 92% of people said trees are extremely or very important. I've done quite a few of these surveys. It's usually high. It's usually not in the 90s, though. So that speaks unto itself, that people are telling us that trees are important to them. Not surprising, the top benefit was related to stormwater. Shade is usually number 1, given your location. I think that trade-off makes sense. Wildlife and pollinator support are usually pretty high as well. So how we took that input and how it made it into the plan. So basically the structure kind of comes directly from the engagement process. So the community input really defined those 3 vision statements, and the community chose the vision that resonated most of them, which then informed our guiding principles, which then shaped our goals and drove the objectives. So every action you see in the implementation portion of the plan can be directly traced back to something that we received as input, whether it was from a resident, a board member, or city staff during this process. And I think why that's important, that pathway matters because it actually reflects what is important to Titusville, what's happening here, and your values. It's not just a industry best practice. It's grounded in them, but we don't take them just at face value. So this was ultimately the vision statement, and I'll read it just since it can be hard to see. But to enhance and preserve a healthy urban forest through conservation and strategic tree plantings that maximize environmental benefits, improve water quality, reduce heat, and enrich the quality of life for the greater Titusville community. And I will say, out of all three vision statements, they were very close in voting. This one got 36%, and the others were right around that 30 marker. And they all shared very common themes related to preservation, enhancement, environmental benefits, water, heat, and quality of life. And so when we developed the plan, every goal and recommendation in it serves this vision. And if it didn't, then it didn't make it into the plan. So in the plan itself, the structure, it has 6 overarching goals, and then underneath the goals, they have their individual objectives, and it runs those 20 years. So the first goals are really the foundational work to help achieve the following goals of protecting and expanding the urban forest, leading to increased benefits. And throughout it all, that close connection to community, that goal 6, is a thread that carries throughout. So in the first 5 years, we kind of developed a more detailed timeline, and 3 objectives really stand it out as immediate priorities because they kind of have to unlock everything else that happens afterwards. And the coordinator designation probably is the most important single thing to be done. It doesn't actually cost anything to designate somebody, and it helps pinpoint that staff capacity that the program's been missing, because you have dedicated qualified staff. You have everything you need. It's just having somebody officially assigned to take that over, even temporarily, to take ownership was really important. And then adopting the landscape trust fund policy, we received a lot of feedback that the public wasn't really in understanding how it was being used. So making sure that it's directed towards replacing tree canopy, planting trees, maintaining trees, which is a very common use. A lot of cities have a similar type of mitigation fund. So having that written out and identified to be used towards trees is very important, especially because we heard that time and time again from the community, having that structure and accountability. And then the other most important thing was launching a public tree inventory procurement. So that gets you that data foundation so we can look at maintenance and risk management. So safety of the public when they walk down city streets is really paramount. Planting new trees, and then tracking the types of trees and the diversity we have. So if we don't get these done, the later goals, they won't be impossible, but they will be much more difficult. So this is the part that I think a lot of times we like to gloss over. I myself do this in my own life, but the monitoring. So how good of a job are we doing? Is it working? And so having that accountability built into the plan structure, you have annual monitoring that tracks if these actions are actually getting done. Are they getting checked off the list? If not, why? And what can we do to pivot and get back on track? On top of that, every 5 years, we have a deeper effectiveness review. So even if we're doing all the actions, are they producing outcomes? Are we getting what we want from these actions? Because sometimes the answer to that is complicated, right? At the end of year 5, we actually have a full plan review back presented to council. And then throughout, we have this framework called the 330-300. It's a lens we look at to see if the urban forest benefits are reaching every neighborhood, every resident in Titusville, if they can see 3 trees from their home, if they live in an area with 30% canopy cover, and if they can walk to the nearest park or green space in 300 meters or about 5 minutes. And so when we benchmarked the city on that 330-300, actually you exceeded the benchmark in the 3 trees visible, but fell a little bit below on the neighborhood canopy and the park access. So closing those 2 gaps on the benchmark is part of what our plan targets are organized around. And with that, I am done with the presentation. Happy to answer any questions. So feel free.
Member Stokel?
Yes, I had a question regarding the percentages. I think you said currently we have 44% tree canopy.
Yep.
in 2010, we had 50%.
Yes.
And then you said we had 13% plantable space. So would that mean adding that to the 44%, which would be 57% we could?
Maximum plantability as conditions exist right now.
Okay.
I'd say, and I think in the plan, our goal was actually the canopy goal proposed was to get back to that 50%.
Okay.
So that's a pretty reasonable goal. That's only half of your plantability. And I think that is a reasonable, it's still a big picture goal, right? That is not an easy task, but it still is achievable. And finding that balance is not always easy.
Yeah. What would you say is a best practice for cities and communities? Is it 50%? Is there a best practice?
Well, it depends on who you ask. So years ago, they used to have certain biome type goals, and it might be 40% here, 50 there. You might have read guidance that in industrial areas, it's 10 to 15%. And those become outdated and unrealistic so quickly. And that's why I'd say probably the best guidance now is the 330, 300. Okay. So you might have some neighborhoods that are 30%, you might have some that are 50, but having that no neighborhood less than 30% is a great goal.
Okay. And then did you guys take into consideration we've had a lot of development, as you noted. So some of those developments planted trees, which might not have tree canopy yet, but they might in 5 years, 10 years, 15. Did you guys take into account that will eventually happen or not yet?
So like growth modeling, you mean? No, we did not do any growth modeling, but how we do the canopy analysis, one of the ways is basically a sample point. So if it landed on a 10-foot tall tree with a 5-foot wide canopy, it was accounted for. But if, say, all development stopped right now, no more trees came down, no more storms, and all those trees grew, that's not the pattern we're seeing over the last 13 years.
Okay,
but yeah, and so that's part of doing this assessment is every 5 years or so, you do want to do an updated canopy analysis to see how you're doing. So to kind of rerun those numbers, basically. And I know a lot of times cities will find they hit a kind of peak development phase, and then it stays steady. So when you rerun those numbers, you may find, say, 3 years from now that the canopy is 46%, and that would be wonderful, right? So you're trending in a good direction.
Okay. And then with the 330, 300, with that model, are you recommending that to be that close to the nearest park or green space, that any new proposed developments we have that be incorporated, that they need to, like, what does that look like is my question, I guess.
So I don't know if you guys have heard of, but the Trust for Public Land also has a 10-minute walk campaign. A lot of cities signed up for that years ago. But you can definitely do a mapping situation. How we had this data was from the survey, asking people if they can walk to the park. And that's originally, there's a Florida-wide study from the University of Florida with Dr. Kozer that is how they did that. So we were able to compare, I'd say pretty much apples to apples on that. But it could also be a great mapping exercise we've had clients use it to identify areas for land acquisition, saying like, okay, this section of the city is a 20-minute walk from a park. What can we do to change that? So yeah, it definitely could influence planning, policy, and development. But that definitely gets more into your guys' realm and Brad's than mine.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
And I believe Ms. Lilly has a map with all the parks on it. And can you elaborate a little bit about where the missing need is there in terms of green spaces?
Yeah, we have already begun to look into that similar question, and they kind of cluster themselves in certain areas. So we took all the residential land and the public space land, so things like golf courses wouldn't count if it was owned by an HOA or maintained by an HOA. So there's a huge gap sort of in the middle of the city, and I think the percentage was in the 50s residentially. We're able to, 56% off the top of my head, but there's a gap.
Well, and then you have to think too, like if it has 5-minute walk to a trail that then is a walk to a park, how do you count that? So there's some leeway in there. One of the big barriers to that often too is actually just having shade to walk to a park. Nobody wants to walk in the 95-degree Florida hot sun to the playground that also is hot. So just my plug for tree planting.
And I think a big missing area is actually on the west side of the city. Especially around 405, there's, plenty of homes in, the central to west side of the city that there's really not a whole lot of close public spaces. Member Moscoso?
Thank you. Yeah, I think to speak to Trust for Public Lands, a few years ago, they actually did map it out here in the city. And so we do have that data when they were looking at, and when they look at possibly purchasing a property for a stormwater park or a park, they did those calculations. And so that's very telling as well. So your report mentions an urban forestry coordinator. Is that different than the TEC's request for an urban forester?
Yeah, so the coordinator is somebody that essentially is appointed now in your existing staff to take over management of this.
Okay.
Otherwise, it just gets shoved on a shelf, right? So if you guys eventually did decide to hire, say, somebody, a local consultant for 1 day a week, or promote somebody from within, or budget for a new position, in the meantime, from now to when that happens, somebody still needs to be in charge of making sure the ball is rolling. And in my opinion, your staff has already done a great job getting things in motion. So we've already essentially put some checks on items that are in this plan before we've even finished it, which is amazing.
My concern going through this, and I mentioned it in my briefing, that it kind of highlights that our Director of Public Works will be overseeing, which is she already has a giant task at what she does, and then adding this is a lot. And so that's why I was curious if those were two different things. We need you where you are.
Well, and I hope, I tried to make it clear in the plan, but it is not common for a city of your size to have a Director of Public Works overseeing urban forestry, because that's common in cities that are like under 5,000 people, because they have too many other things on their plate. So wherever this position that was requested is housed, it could be in public works, it could be parks, it could be a landscaping type side thing, it could be its own division. I've seen them in like neighborhood services, but yeah, it would not be reasonable or fair to expect her to run and be in charge of urban forestry, in my opinion.
Okay, and then I have one more question. This might be for staff, but I know in the tree mitigation fund, we have over 700,000. Do we know how much annually gets put in that? I know it's based off of impact fees and things like that, but is there a rough number of, we get 50,000 added to that each year, 100,000?
It varies every year depending on the size of development that comes in and the number of developments that come in and what they're proposing to do. And some developments are able to replant without mitigating at all. So it really varies dramatically every year.
Would you say like every year consistently there is money being put in?
I would say yes.
Okay, thank you.
Member Nelson?
So I know that part of our landscape trust fund goes for maintenance of our trees. Other cities?
Ma'am, that's incorrect.
Incorrect. Okay.
Yeah. The landscape trust fund is not used for maintenance.
Tell me what it's used for.
It's for planting,
Only
vegetation.
planting?
Yeah, that's all. The resolution is very specific.
Okay. Then that answers the question. Thank you.
Easy one.
All right, any other questions from council? All right, seeing none. One point I want to bring up to council is there's no action requested, so therefore we normally would not take comments on because we're not taking action because it's going to come back before us. But I see we have a lot of tree folks here wanting to talk, and I believe they did put cards in. So if council be willing to make a motion to allow cards on this item, we can hear them out. Member Nelson?
Move to allow cards.
Second.
Motion by Member Nelson, second by Member Stokel. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. City Clerk, can you call the first card, please?
Yes, sir. Stan Johnston.
We're talking about 6B, is that correct?
Urban Forestry.
Oh, forestry, okay, because I was, all right. What I wanted to say is there's some other people going to speak, like this young lady here with the silver hair, Laura Lee, and, yeah, you're here, and Kay, and Hector, and maybe Mike might want to speak too. But so what I've got to say is something special, is that I want to say for them ditto. They're good people, and they've got the right ideas about what's supposed to happen to our environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. City Clerk?
Mary Spar.
Good evening, I'm Mary Spar, and I live in Cocoa. I'd like to point out that even though your agenda item sentence about this says that no action is recommended, there are 3 alternatives, and one of them is to accept the TEC recommendation, and that's what I am hoping that you will do tonight. That includes establishing a line item for the from the Landscape Trust Fund to fund implementation of the Urban Forest Management Plan, and then to approve and implement the plan. So, in 2019, your Community Development Director, Peggy Bisaka, suggested that Titusville create an urban forestry program to increase tree canopy. This sounded like an excellent idea, and I've been waiting for it since then. Now, the Titusville Environmental Commission very carefully reviewed the urban forestry document for 2 hours on April 30th, and then another 1.5 hours on May 13th, and I attended both those meetings as a concerned citizen. I was extremely impressed with the quality of the TEC discussions. And the TEC identified several recommendations that needed to be tailored to the city's specific situation. And staff then worked with the EOC consultant to creatively incorporate TEC suggestions and make the plan before you a living document, which will take care of the issue that one of the council people had about public works. The plan is now in excellent shape, ready for your adoption now, as TEC recommended, along with a budget line item. Absolutely essential to get it off and running in the next fiscal year. Please approve the TEC recommendation and adopt this excellent plan tonight, and recommend a budget line item for FY 2027. I urge you to vote for the TEC's wise and very carefully considered recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. City Clerk?
Laura Lee Thompson.
Laura Lee Thompson, MIMS. So at 44% canopy cover, Titusville has a good number of trees compared to most Florida cities. But think about it, a lot of those trees are in our big wetlands. They're not in the neighborhoods. They're out there, they're not over anybody's house or anything, they're out in the wetlands. So our canopy percentage continues to decline due to tree loss from new development. We heard multiple times during the Urban Forest Management Plan community engagements that too much money has been taken from the Landscape Trust Fund to plant flowers and bushes at corridor gateways. Instead, residents expect that that money gained from tree destruction should be used to replace trees. So over the last 3 years, City Council has approved different plans that all stipulate development of an urban forest master plan. But while these plans call for tree planting, canopy enhancement, and green infrastructure, they don't provide operational or monitoring guidance. The Urban Forest Management Plan fills that gap. We've been talking about an urban forest management plan for years. We're like Linus waiting for the great pumpkin. And it's time to stop talking and do something. EOC has given us a brilliant plan. It's exactly what the community wants. We should put it to use. And that'll take money. The city has $700,000 in the Landscape Trust Fund. Used wisely, that money could last for years. We need to change the ordinance so it can be used to hire a coordinator to work with Sandy in the Public Works Department. You know, she can use the money too for the trees. So a line item, I'm suggesting $150,000 for the first year so that we can hire a coordinator. And so a line item for the management plan should be added right now to the fiscal year 2027 city budget. And you won't have to cut money from any other budget item because you can pay for it from the Landscape Trust Fund. And you can leave the rest of the money in the Landscape Trust Fund and let it continue to build so it can pay for implementing the urban forest management plan over future years. Establishing Titusville's urban forest is an investment in the community's health, livability, and long-term sustainability. Please, please, please adopt the urban forest management plan with TEC's recommendations tonight and put a line item in the city's budget to fund it from the Landscape Trust Fund. So now I understand that you advertise this as no action. So take some action later. Do something. Thank you.
Thank you. City Clerk?
Hector Delgado.
Good evening. My name is Hector Delgado, 3203 South Washington Avenue, retired NASA Chief Engineer. Great, that's usually doesn't happen. But in any event, is that better? Okay, so I'll start again. My name is Hector Delgado. I'm with the TEC. I'm also retired NASA Chief Engineer. So I've been in the stars and the planets for a long time. I'm down in the trees. And so I'm here to urge you to approve the plan. The contractor has done an outstanding job, but the citizens did all the heavy lifting. Hundreds of hours, hundreds of people have come together to put this together. And this is the product that is upon you now for consideration, along with how do we do this? How do we fund it? I think there's a way that is neutral to your budget. I'm trying to find a time where the city manager doesn't get tangled with next year. We want to flow right in if we could. And with your support, the citizens right behind you, and maybe we can get this done after many years, as it was stated before, of trying to do this. This is a chance for generations to come for us to impact this city. Generationally, it's a chance this council, mayor, and city officials have to impact the future of the city. So just take that into consideration when you consider how we're going to do this. And I put my full support on this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. City Clerk?
William Young.
William Young?
I'm Bill Young, William Young. I'm with the Titusville Environmental Committee. I've been here since 1957. Anybody been here this long? Okay, when I came here, when my parents brought me here in 1957. Anybody else out there? She's the only one I know of. Okay, you have? Okay. They put me in a house at the end of Garden Street called South Lake Village. Anybody been in South Lake Village across the South Lake Elementary School? The developer put a little tiny one tree in the front of every house. If you go there, you'll see that 60 years ago, what trees are there? Very few. You have a brand new developer next door who put trees in, which are very few. Go next door to my house, where I live now, and you'll see giant oak trees that were put here 125 years ago. You're depending upon developers who are out to make lots of money and not care about the environment. They want nicely painted, good decorations, and there's no money being put into trees. So whether you go to South Lake Housing Project or the one next door, you don't see trees, okay? So the house that I lived in for all those years to 20 years before I moved here, there's one tree. And 5 houses beside me have no trees at all. Don't depend on the developers. Take this plan, adopt it, put it in place, make it happen, and make it policy and follow it, and then figure out how to make the thing follow schedule and money. Make this happen. So if you did drive down South Catalina Street, when you go from Garden Street to Carpenter Road, look at the difference in trees. You can't see South Lake because the trees are too big. There's no trees like that in South Lake or the neighboring development. Don't let that happen in Titusville.
Thank you, sir. City Clerk?
Kay St. On.
Kay St. Ange, Titusville Tree Team. ESC Engineering has prepared an excellent urban forest management plan for the city. This plan transforms years of city planning and commitment into a framework for protecting, managing, and expanding Titusville's tree canopy. Providing nearly $6 million in annual economic benefits, the city's tree canopy is a valuable asset. However, canopy cover has declined from 50.2% in 2010 to 44% in 2023, over 6 points. The Urban Forest Management Plan is needed to protect, maintain, and enhance this asset, our tree canopy. So it continues delivering benefits for years and years to come. If I had a $6 million asset, I would have it insured. And that's what this Urban Forest Management Plan, it is an insurance plan to keep managing and enhancing our urban forestry. The plan's strategic tree planting would reverse canopy loss while improving water quality, reducing urban heat, enhancing stormwater management, and expanding equitable access to green space. The plan calls for planting trees in county parks and along FDOT corridors in collaboration with these entities. A dedicated coordinator will be essential for successful implementation. The Landscape Trust Fund is identified by the plan as one of the best funding sources for program development. The fund currently holds $700,000 in tree mitigation fee revenues and continues to accrue monies, all of which could be invested in implementing the plan. The city should establish a dedicated UFMP line item in the next fiscal year's budget using the Landscape Trust Fund. You don't need to use your general fund. Use the Landscape Trust Fund. That's what it's for. I urge council to vote to adopt, not just accept, but adopt this excellent urban forest management plan with TEC's recommendations and commit the resources needed for full implementation. Make the plan official city policy, and Titusville will outshine all of Brevard. Let's launch this plan this summer with an opening ceremony and tree planting event at Sandpoint Park. Tree team volunteers are standing by, shovel in hand, ready to plant trees. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kay. City Clerk?
Martha Pisana.
What was it?
Martha.
I'm Martha Pissarro. I am currently the treasurer for the Friends of the Enchanted Forest, and we would like to make sure that our voice is put behind this plan and seeing it go from plan to program. All that's been presented this evening, fantastic data and reasoning for putting together and adopting and making this happen within the city of Titusville. Because the Enchanted Forest is not enough. We're 400 acres. We have conservation, preservation, and passive recreation and education going on. But we need our community to revere the nature that was here, especially during these times of development. And we need to listen to the work that the tree team has been putting together for all of these years and see our way forward to a government entity that will adopt and make programmatic the urban forest management plan. And we thank you very much. And may the forest be with you.
Thank you. Clerk?
Tom Perez.
Tom Perez, Titusville. Thank you for allowing this to happen, okay, since you didn't need to do that. The TEC recommended the City Council establish a line item from the Landscape Trust Funds specifically to fund implementation of the Urban Forestry Management Plan. This effort has been years in the making, as you all know, building on several previous plans. The Urban Forest Management Plan will protect the city's tree canopy assets. With the $700,000 in the Landscape Trust Fund and continued revenues accruing, we have the funding that is necessary to put this into effect. Please act to adopt the Urban Forest Management Plan. There is no reason for further delay. It's been a long time in the making. You have been given all the information you need to do so. The sooner, the better. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. City Clerk?
Jill Dobson.
Jill Dobson, Titusville. Adopt the Urban Forest Management Plan and invest in Titusville. The proposed Urban Forest Management Plan will enhance the quality of life for the citizens of Titusville. By adopting and implementing this plan in concert with the TEC's recommendations, the Sustainability Plan, and the Future Stormwater Management Plan, the preservation and planting of native trees and plants will mitigate the significant loss of the tree canopy we have experienced year over year. The preservation, planting, and maintenance of trees is a beneficial and frugal investment in managing stormwater runoff, recharging the aquifer, and reducing Titusville's expensive and fragile reliance on potable water from other communities. I urge council to vote to adopt the plan, not accept, but adopt this urban forest management plan and commit the resources necessary to maintain it. Thank you.
Thank you. City Clerk?
Tony Schifolo.
Schifolo, Historic Norwood House. I followed the development of the Titusville Urban Forest Management Plan for years, long before the mayor came here. This plan was developed, refined, and edited. It's logical, it's professional, it's been studied and tweaked by your Environmental Commission. Vote to adopt the Urban Forest Management Plan with the recommendations from the TEC. Establish a dedicated plan line item in the next fiscal year's budget using the Landscape Trust Fund, which currently has over $700,000, and follow the consultant's recommendation to add an exclusion that fund expenditures shall not be used for general landscape beautification, ornamental plantings, or hardscape improvements unless such improvements are directly associated with tree planting. Comes from the plan. Titusville has sustained its commitment to an urban forest for over 25 years through the Tree City USA designation, the Public Landscape Trust Fund, and a tree protection ordinance, which the tree team helped you pass. This plan builds on that foundation, providing a structured framework for managing trees as a measurable community asset already valued at $6 million. We falsely proclaimed to be a Tree City USA for 25 years because we fudged the figures. There were years we didn't plant any trees. We took them down instead, and we used the money for other things. Now we have a solid plan designed not only by the citizens, which he's not even here, but Member Cole kind of disdains citizen input. But we have a plan not only designed by the citizens, but by a hired consultant. So it's professional with citizen input. So don't just accept, but vote to adopt and implement the Urban Forest Management Plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shiflett. City Clerk?
The last card is Michael Myjack.
Michael Myjack, last card. Well, great. I'm in a modern house with no tree. How come? You know, somebody built it. Why isn't there a tree on it? I don't know, but we need to fix that. I have to tell you, having worked on this and the hours that we spent on this, this is a formative change. If you adopt it, you will be adopting a generational change in this city. We will our prodigy, our people, our children who come after us, who move here after us, will benefit from this 20 years down the road. It's not just the structure, it's not just the plan. It's the fact that we have recognized that we have a valuable asset. That asset works well with stormwater. When we get our stormwater plan, this will dovetail into that so that we can work the two together. This is going to provide something that the city hasn't had for a number of years, and that's something that the citizens can grab a hold of and participate in. Like Martha, I'm the vice chair of the Friends of the Enchanted Forest. And while the Enchanted Forest is indeed enchanted, what we need is an enchanted urban forest. And we all can adopt that and take care of that. So I have to ask you, if you're not going to adopt it now, why not now? And if not now, when? Because, as you've heard, we have been here for years. The tree team wrote a plan a couple of years ago. We said, nope, that wasn't quite enough. That was a 2-year effort, by the way. And now we have this effort, which is more refined and more detailed and more structured. And it's exactly what I think the city needs. We have the resources in our landscape trust fund. We need to start now, this budget cycle. We need a line item in the budget now. If you don't have that, it's not going to start. You don't have that toehold to get going. But once you have that line item in the budget so that every fiscal year you can add to it, this plan proposes to have more than 5 people. This is a department. Maybe we want to take over our own parks too and manage our parks and rec and our forests together as one little sub-department, maybe under Public Works. There's options. We have room to grow. This is the way a city of our size needs to grow. So please adopt this with the TEC recommendations, and let's move forward and grow some more trees. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Myjack. Well, I can tell you as somebody who sits up here and, one of the votes, I understand how you feel when government moves slow. Because I think some of you guys said you started working on this in 2019 is when it first kind of came to fruition. And even some of the things that, brought up here, it's like, I'm one of the people that can vote on this and it still feels like it takes forever. So I do understand that sentiment. And at the end of the day, you just want to plan and want to get things done. And I'm right there with you. So City Attorney, I'm going to ask you this question. What would be the process to amending our resolution and how long do you think that effort would take?
The current resolution? I would say as far as making the amendment, we could probably have it noticed by the next meeting since council is not meeting until a month from now.
Gotcha. And then I believe the initial plan called for somebody to kind of coordinate until there was a line item budget City Manager, would you then, I'm assuming, ask Ms. Lilly to do that in the meantime?
That was my initial reaction, and we're going to come back with an implementation plan, a funding source, and a temporary coordinator at the next meeting.
Okay.
And look
So-
for adoption.
All right, very much appreciate that feedback, City Manager. All right. Member Moscoso.
Thank you. Thank you so much for all the work that you've done, and to all of our residents who've been working on this for years. We truly appreciate it. I don't think I've ever seen our residents support a consultant like they have supported you, so this feels like a miracle. So job well done. I'm originally from Tallahassee, and we're known for a few things. One, for bad politicians, but another one, we're known for our canopy roads. And that is kind of our claim to fame there. And growing up, when I was driving, I always drove down the canopy roads because it was just so much fun. But the most expensive houses, the areas that everyone wants to live in, are on those canopy roads. So I fully support this. I do think that it needs to be implemented. I don't think we have the staff time to be able to implement it the way that we want. So I would support the TEC recommendation.
Member Stokel?
Yeah, to that regard, City Manager, when you said identify funding sources, could that come out of the Landscape Trust Fund, or are we limited in what those funds can be used for? And that might be a question for Brad or you.
The resolution currently is very limited on what you can use it, only for public purpose and only on public lands. So the statements or the actions that are stated on page 35 of your packet, you'll see the three things that the consultant is suggesting that you do prior to actually implementing this plan. One is to amend that resolution to give you more flexibility.
Okay, thank you.
Hence why I asked time frame. Yeah. Member Nelson?
I'm just going to say I agree with the TEC recommendation. And if we can use the Landscape Trust Fund to help fund this, that would be great. And thank you.
It sounds like everybody's supporting tree planting on the roads. I'm just saying. Yes. Good idea, Mayor. All right, well, I'll entertain a motion for the adoption of the plan with, well, no, it says alternatives. We can accept the urban forestry plan with the TEC's recommendations. It's on the staff report. Member Moscoso?
Sure, I'll make that motion. So I move to adopt the urban forest management plan with the recommendation by TEC to hire an urban forester.
So just to clarify, we were intending to bring this back to you under consent at your next regular meeting. This presentation to you wasn't for formal action. Of course, if that's what you want to do, that's your purview. But we were just hoping to get some input from you about this plan to see if we need to make any changes or not. It doesn't sound like that's the case.
City Attorney, any issue with us taking action?
No, I don't see an issue with taking action by motion and vote. And at this point in time, again, the resolution is just amending a document. So as I stated, it could be as early as the next meeting in July. It seems to be the funding issue may be more of the, problematic. But again, amending a resolution is just a document.
Okay, so just a recommendation as a motion to accept the urban forestry plan with TEC's recommendations, and then direct staff to bring back their resolution amending the language in the Landscape Trust Fund.
Yeah. And I would second.
All right, so Member Moscoso amended her motion. Member Nelson seconded. Any further discussion from this board? City Clerk?
Member Moscoso?
Yes.
Member Nelson? Yes. Mayor Connors?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. I'd like to call a point of order, if I may, on the final wording, because I heard Ms. Moscoso say to adopt, and I heard Mr. Mayor say accept. I believe the motion was to adopt. Is that correct? Yes, I believe that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Yes. All right, but I think the important part was including the motion of bringing back the resolution to change the Landscape Trust Fund. So making sure that Member Moscoso included that was important. All right. City Manager, we are on now 6A, I believe.
Yes, sir. 6A, boards and commissions, Titusville Housing Authority, and the recommended action is to reappoint one regular member to the Titusville Housing Authority with a term to expire on May 31st, 2030. The members are appointed by the mayor with the approval of the city council, and regular member Fletcher Portlock has expressed his willingness and desire to continue serving on this authority and requests reappointment for a 4-year term to expire on May 31st, 2030, and there are no additional applications on file.
Thank you, City Manager. City Clerk? Will somebody make a motion to approve Mr. Fletcher?
Move to approve Mr. Fletcher as a regular member of the Titusville Housing Authority.
Second.
I have a motion by Member Nelson, a second by Member Stokel. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. City Manager?
So moving on to 6B, the Board of Adjustments and Appeals, and the action is to accept the resignation of Board of Adjustments and Appeals alternate member Nathan Rothell with an unexpired term that will expire on July 31st, 2027. Resignation was effective May 19th, and there are no applicants on file.
Thank you, City Manager. City Clerk?
One card, Stan Johnston.
Stan Johnson, I'm a professional engineer, and I've worked with Board of Adjustment and Appeals on some successful and some very unsuccessful. And one of the ones that I have been very unsuccessful with is SNJ Oaks, which is still in a horrible situation with the accepted survey that doesn't pertain, that is not that's false. So anyhow, I'm just want you to be careful on who you choose for this replacement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Can I have a motion?
Move to accept the resignation of Mr. Rothell with regret.
Second.
A motion by Member Nelson, a second by Member Stokel. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. And now we're on petitions and requests from the public, non-agenda items. Mr. Johnson?
Michael Myjack, again, modern house on Alpine Lane with no tree. I'm not going to get a chance to speak to you again for a few months as I'm getting ready to depart for Maine. One of the things that I asked of you when I first came back last fall was that the TEC be granted 2 meetings a month so that we could work on our wetlands problem. We're about to wrap that up, and I think you'll be amazed at the fixes that we've been able to bring to bear. This is all with approval of our city assistant attorney working with us. And so to that end, looking at the stormwater problems that we have coming up and some of the other issues that are on our sustainability, I'd like to ask you to consider the TEC meeting twice a month regularly, full-time. The amount of work and effort that there is to do and the amount of work that we've been able to accomplish, I think you can justify the two. So I just wanted to put that in your ear and think about it, because we have been very effective and we've been very functional. And the only other thing is I'd like to be able to zoom into the meetings, so maybe you can find a way to make that happen too. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Myjack. Mr. Johnson, I'm assuming you want to say something?
Stan Johnson, I'm going to repeat pretty much what I said this last meeting, is that I'm asking for Mr. Connors to resign from mayor for some reasons. I did have a poster, but it's too big, so I've got this right here, and it says, Mr. Connors, election fraud, and that's why I'm wearing this a picture of Ronald Reagan with a Democrat on it. Because what he did was he had a poster of Vicki Conklin saying that she was Republican, and it was a narrow election, so it was a bad thing to do. Then another thing I have on here is regarding Mr. Connors, is it says Titusville, Florida is the only city in the world that deliberately sprays women, children, babies, cars, and home with sewage. Why? Ask attorney Mrs. Nelson, and she can give you the answer. Is that somebody in FDE said that it's okay to just go ahead and leave the fountains on, and that's it. But I have money that says the city can't get a professional engineer to agree with that, and I'm a professional engineer, and I'm opposing it, and I think it's a horrible thing. It's nonsense, and it's not so. So just tonight, someone came to me and said, "Stan, you're not being fair at all. You're not being fair," and that was Tony Schifolo, and she told me, she said, "You need to give them a chance. You need to give these other 4 people a chance, not Mrs. Moscoso, but so that they can say, by golly, we're not going to do it anymore." Because that's what I'm really asking, is that it was a wrong thing to do, admit it was wrong. It was wrong for years to do it, and it's still the wrong thing to do, and don't stop doing it. So what this means is that when we have a spill in ponds like at our parks, such as Space View Park, Senior Center, or the other big park, Sandpoint, is that what we should do is turn the fountains off. So I'm very disappointed in what happened the last meeting, last council meeting. We had Boy Scouts over here, Boy Scouts. I was a Boy Scout, my dad was a Boy Scout. And so it appears to me as what council did at that meeting when I spoke about this is they encouraged people to be dishonest, to go ahead and support this nonsense. And that's what Mr. Connors is doing here and at North Brevard Parks and Recreation. What is he doing? He's supporting nonsense, spraying people with piss and poop. Titusville is the only city in the world, in this planet, that deliberately sprays people with piss and poop. It's something you learn when you're in kindergarten.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you.
Member Nelson.
Tom, can we ask Kevin about the fountains? We went over this last time.
Please have a seat, Mr. Johnson.
My understanding is those fountains have not worked for years. We haven't had fountains for years.
At Sandpoint Park?
At Sandpoint Park.
Yeah, we don't maintain those fountains anyway. That's Brevard County's Parks and Rec that maintains the fountains at that park.
Do we even have fountains anymore?
I haven't seen them operate in a number of years. But
Do we have a policy to spray people, with piss and poop?
no, ma'am.
And I'm assuming Mayor Connors isn't promoting it either.
And just another point, I believe the pipe break under Sandpoint Pond was in 2020.
2020?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think that's the only time I asked NDEP. I was told by Scott Reese that DEP had said to leave the fountain on because the air would neutralize bacteria.
Yeah, I don't have the magical ability to go back in time and stop pipes from breaking, but petitions and requests.
So I was at Sandpoint Park when that happened, and there were fountains, and there was 7.3 million gallons of sewage. And I think that what Mr. Johnston is really asking for is a policy to never do that again, to never put those fountains on if there is a sewage spill in close proximity. That's all he's asking. It's real simple.
And you can apologize.
Thank you very much. Ma'am?
Sorry, what you have before you is a matrix of issues with regard to the Royal Oak property. I realize that this is somewhat a topic for later in our agenda, but my point is that this property has some significant issues that the city should be aware of and should be addressing, and should be using our statutes, ordinances, and laws and rules to consider. So I put together a table that's nowhere near comprehensive, and it's just a first go. Please disregard the beginning of that because that'll be later tonight when I respond to the attorney's report. I did want to bring to your attention, I don't know whether the council has seen, and you'll be able to see it on my phone, the 1943 photo of the Royal Oak Golf Course property, which demonstrates it is a wetland. This is prior to any kind of development at all. The quote-unquote ponds were already present on the property. And I would be happy to email you the pictures and the overlays with the current property design so that you can see them for yourself and understand that this, in fact, is a wetland property. I guess what I really want to make sure we understand as a city when we look at this property is how much natural recharge occurs on this property, how much recharge would be lost if we were to pave it over. What are the impacts on the water supply planning and the use of the 500-acre basin for the community that surrounds? These issues directly affect our water supply, stormwater management, and long-term infrastructure planning. And I think we also need to understand, with regard to this property, what facilities were dedicated in the 1964 and 1965 deeds and plats, what public rights were created, what obligations were accepted by the city, how much of the drainage system depends on this property for the surrounding community and the property itself, what reliance interests were created for the homeowners who purchased properties based on the dedications in our plats. And by the way, the dedications are on every page of the plat. I just feel like the city may not be fully understanding the situation this property presents, both as in value to the surrounding homeowners and in its own responsibility. And I just want the city to understand and thoroughly review this. Finally, I'd ask that the RFP that's going out for the small-scale study be published on the city's website for all opportunities for all vendors. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Petitions and requests? Seeing none, moving on to consent. City manager.
Yes, sir. We have 8 items under consent agenda. Are there any items council wishes to pull from the agenda?
I'm not seeing any lights, city manager.
Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll read them for the record. 8A, purchase of solid waste vehicles. 8B, school resource officer, SRO for 13 schools. 8C, bulletproof grant award. 8D, employee benefits and human resource consulting. 8E, Save Our Indian River Lagoon interlocal agreement. 8F, fiscal year 2026 road resurfacing project change. 8G, special event road closure for the America 250 semi-quincentennial parade. And 8H, purchase of property for future stormwater infrastructure.
City clerk.
We have one card. It's Dan Johnston.
Stan Johnston, I'm a professional engineer, and I certainly on 8F is road resurfacing. I'm certainly for that. And I'm not against 8E also. And regarding 8H, I've looked up where the property is, and I can't find out where it is in the, even in the agenda packet. So my concern is that this may be another property that is south of 50. I don't know where it is, south of 50, that it's being wanted to be procured because it's available for buying them in this well field. Well, the well field's not been productive at all compared. It's just, I just can't see if it's surrounded by properties, it's not, I see no need to purchase it. So I just want to give that opinion regarding a number of properties in Sun Valley that have been purchased that will serve no real purpose as far as we know in a really productive well field. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. And this is not for recharge. This is to incorporate a parcel of land into our stormwater system that needs it. So it's being a tactical approach to acquire more stormwater. City Clerk? All right. I would say you looked like you were getting up, so I figured I'd ask.
I'm sorry, I had a card with no number on it. Oh, I'm sorry. So, okay. So Elizabeth Parker.
City Clerk?
Sorry, Parker, Trevina Circle. I just wanted to ask a quick question of the council regarding consent agenda item D. I was here for the presentation last meeting, I think it was. In my understanding of the Human Resources Consulting Contracts, the agreement, is to control medical costs for city employees. So if my understanding is correct, we're self-employed and we're paying $75,000 a year for up to 5 years, which is, what, 225 plus 150, $375,000. Not for medical care for our employees, but to try to find ways not to pay their medical care. And I guess I'm just wondering whether this is a real good use of taxpayer money to make sure that we don't pay for medical care for the people we have insured on city payroll, who then can sue us and we'll have to pay for that. I guess I'm curious to hear what council has to say about why we would invest our taxpayer money this way and how it's benefiting the city. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess I can answer that question. So we all currently pay a benefits consultant to give us advice. And after analyzing that, it wasn't working. We had to move 1.5 million from the general fund to cover losses of our self-insured plan. So the plan wasn't working. So we went out to RFP to find a new consultant that can come up with a better plan to not only address our employees' healthcare concerns, but also make sure we're not hemorrhaging money along the way. Because unfortunately, out there in the healthcare world, there's a lot of rising costs for sure, and especially when you get into pharmacy and networks and all those things, they like to try to take advantage. And our insurance carrier was no different. And so hiring somebody that could actually administer a self-funded plan effectively will not only provide better care to our employees, but help save our taxpayers' money. So that's the answer to that. City Council, any discussion on the consent items? Seeing none, Member Nelson?
Move to approve consent agenda items 8A through 8H.
Second.
I have a motion by Member Nelson, a second by Member Stokel. Any further discussion? City Clerk?
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Connors?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Moscoso?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. City Manager?
Yes, sir. Moving on to item 9, ordinances, second reading, public hearing, and related actions. 9A is the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, FY27 Annual Action Plan, final public hearing. And the recommended action is to conduct the final public hearing on the draft Community Development Block Plan and authorize the Neighborhood Services Director and/or Mayor to sign the grant application and certification forms as required for utilization of CDBG funds in the amount of $251,081. And we have members of Neighborhood Services to answer any questions you may have.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. The Neighborhood Services Department is pleased to be back before you tonight to present the city's FY 26-27 Action Plan. This is the second and final hearing required by HUD as part of the development of the city's plans on the uses of CDBG federal funds received directly from HUD. The purpose of tonight's public hearing is to receive public comments prior to the submittal to HUD. At your February 10th meeting, Council approved the funding recommendations on the uses of the city's CDBG program and authorized staff to finalize the action plan for approval at tonight's meeting. The Neighborhood Services Department has compiled the approved projects into HUD's electronic database system, which you will find as an attachment in your package as the action plan. Tonight, we are seeking council's approval of the 26-27 action plan, authorization for staff to sign the grant application and certifications, as well as authorization to submit the plan to HUD. I wanted to note that on April 7th, 2026, HUD published the 26-27 CDBG grantee allocations. The city's CDBG grant for next year decreased to $251,081. As a result, the proposed amounts for the administrative and the neighborhood revitalization program portions of the action plan will be adjusted to 20% and 80% respectively for a total. Public services was reduced from $42,000 to $37,000. And if you have any questions.
Member Nelson?
I do.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You're fine.
There's a letter from HUD, and I should have asked it earlier this week. But in it, it talks about we are permitted to, Section 108 permits you to borrow up to 5 times your current CDBG allocation.
Yes, ma'am.
Which would be $1,250,000. Could we use that for low-income housing?
We could, but they are loans. So we would borrow against our funding. And if
Okay.
our funding is reduced, or if our funding doesn't, we don't receive it, we would still owe that money back.
Okay,
So that's why we've never, I believe that's why we've never,
used it
yes, ma'am.
in that manner. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, but it's an
Yes,
idea.
it is a large amount.
Member Moscoso?
Thank you. I see we have 163,000 for neighborhood revitalization and infrastructure. And it says the report references that it can go to sidewalks, blight removal, housing improvements. And then the report also states that we have more than 15 households on a waiting list, I guess, to get housing.
Those are actually on our rehab waiting list.
Okay.
That we use SHIP funds with.
So are we able to use any of that 163,000 to go to make sure that we're rehabbing houses so that people can get into homes? Because I know a lot of times this money goes towards resurfacing projects and lighting projects, but we want people in homes. And if we can, like to the member Nelson's point, if we can use every dollar and make sure it goes into either rehabbing the homes so people get in them, that's where I'd love to see it.
We did add housing this year to address comments from the last meeting. And housing activities with HUD could fill gaps where needed for our SHIP and home programs.
So the 163,000, what do you have it earmarked for at the moment?
Currently, we do not, our action plan is not designed for specific projects. It is designed to allow flexibility to cover public facilities and housing. Specific projects are determined with public input for this plan, specifically the South Street target area. We are currently, this will be our 5th and last year targeting the South Street area. So the residents have a few ideas, but nothing is set in stone. Therefore, why the flexibility is needed.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's great, and we want to get the residents' input, but also for me personally, making sure we have homes ready and available for people as well. So that would be my top priority for that. But
We always have a waiting list on our rehab list, so.
Thank you very much. City Clerk?
Yes, sir. Kirk Davis?
Kirk Davis, 3740 Hickory Park Drive, Titusville. And to the Honorable Mayor Connors and the rest of the council, I just wanted to bring up a few things in relation to the CDBG. This is not pulling on that funding, or it's not addressing that funding, but it's just a side that I thought would be important to bring to the council. This involves some property that the city of Titusville owns. The address is 700 Wega Avenue. And that property has been under contention for a couple of years in terms of memorialization for the Joinville area. Why is it significant? This site will be a cornerstone for Titusville African American heritage. For decades, the community in the Joinville vicinity has served as a vital hub for education, community organizing, business development, and cultural expression. The site can represent the resilience and resourcefulness of the African American families who, despite systematic challenges of segregation and limited investment, built a self-sustaining community that significantly shaped the economic and civic landscape of Titusville. Historic role. The city-owned property is next door to the Titusville Market, AKA Blues Groceries. It is also next to the Harry T. Moore Social Service Center, and is on the gateway, South Street, to Titusville. The property represents the cornerstone for the community. The former school near this property was the Titusville Negro School, and I'm sure most of you are familiar with it. It provided education to generations when public schooling was segregated. The business, like Blues and others, were the central gathering place and an economic engine that supported families in the community. Likewise, this location is connected to the works of activists like Harry T. and Harry V. Moore. Community impact. This site will consolidate a center of community identity. It can facilitate social, intellectual, and political development of the neighborhood, encourage our youth in learning more about their community, and act as a testament to the contributions of African American residents to the growth of North Brevard County. Preservation of memory. Currently, the community's history is at risk of being overlooked in the broader narrative of the city. This property can host a visual presence that can serve as a physical commemoration that is essential to ensure that this site's role in our local community and our local history is formally recognized, respected, and accessible to future generations. Alignment with community goals. I'll let that ride.
Can we give Kurt another minute?
Just 20 seconds.
20 seconds.
20 more seconds.
All those in favor say aye.
The timeline, go ahead. The use of the property will align with the City of Titusville ongoing efforts such as the Joinville and Beyond initiative to document, preserve, and interpret underrepresented narratives within our collective heritage. By using this property for a commemorative display, the city demonstrates a commitment to a physical and inclusive historical record that honors all contributors to our shared community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. City Clerk?
The last card is Christina Stokes.
I've provided council with a brief concept sheet regarding an ongoing community memorial wall, with engraved legacy bricks and reflection space for your consideration as future community development and neighborhood revitalization opportunities are explored. Good evening, Mayor, council members, and community members. My name is Christina Stokes, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak during this public hearing on the Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan. As we discuss neighborhood revitalization and community investment, I believe it is important to remember that many of our communities carry histories of pain that did not begin in recent years. In Florida and throughout the South, systems such as the Black Codes and convict leasing created new forms of exploitation after slavery. And Black labor helped build much of the infrastructure and prosperity that we benefit from today, including transportation corridors such as US 1 and the Old Dixie Highway, whose legacy remains visible throughout our community and in names that continue to reference that history. Those histories left lasting impacts that can still be felt through grief, disconnection, poverty, violence, and unequal access to spaces that promote healing and belonging. Community development is about more than buildings and roads. It is also about people. It is about creating environments where residents feel connected, valued, and remembered. That is why I have been exploring the concept of an ongoing community memorial wall with engraved legacy bricks and reflection space connected to the Harry T. Moore Center. Such a space could allow families to honor loved ones while encouraging healing, remembrance, beautification, volunteerism, and stronger partnerships with local organizations and service providers. I recognize that this concept remains in the community input and exploration stage. However, I hope that as the city considers present and future investments, we will continue to prioritize projects that strengthen human connection and promote community healing. Honoring the legacy of Harry and Harriet Moore requires more than remembering history. It requires investing in the people who continue to live with its consequences and creating spaces that help us build a stronger and more compassionate future together. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. City Clerk, any other cards? So, Member Nelson, are you going to ask the question?
You can.
All right.
Go ahead.
Can we use CDBG dollars to do something like that?
I believe the property that Mr. Davis was speaking of, we had an issue with CDBG not allowing it. I don't know the exact regulation, and I don't have it with me tonight, but I can provide that to you.
Okay.
Was there initially a plan with drawings and an approximate cost of how much this was going to run? I believe there was before my time. That's why I'm asking.
I believe we already own that property.
Yes.
As a plan for the
It's
monument.
vacant property, we own it.
Yeah, but
And there's
plan
no
for
plans.
the
I'm
pocket
not aware
park.
of any plans for any type of development or anything.
We did have meetings, and we did have a consultant come in and speak to us regarding putting a park there, and it was HUD that would not allow us to do it due to a certain regulation that I don't have with me tonight.
I remember that.
Our staff has heard
I
about it.
remember that part. I don't remember the specific.
Remember
There was
what?
a specific reason why,
Yes,
but I don't remember what it was.
I don't either.
Mr. Parrish, were you going to say something?
I'm just going to concur that that is true. We were in the midst of implementing the plan with funding to put in a park. But because I guess rules had changed with HUD, they reevaluated that and concluded that we could not use the money for that project. So that project was halted.
All right, in your planning process, Mr. Parrish, approximately how much was this going to cost?
I believe we had only budgeted the design, which was about $100,000 or thereabouts. So that was just for the design. We didn't have the funding yet just for the construction. that was going to be something done later once design was completed.
Gotcha. Member Nelson?
I wonder if there's any grants out there that we could follow.
I believe Terry has been looking into other funds to
Okay.
go towards that park.
So that might be,
We were calling it a pocket park,
right.
but I
Okay.
believe Terry has been looking into trying to find other funds.
I mean, I'd love to see something nice there.
Yes,
Yeah,
so would we.
yeah. I almost sort of wondered if we did it. This is crazy idea. I don't know if it works, but if we did it as a gateway into Titusville or a gateway into the downtown area,
Yes.
if that would allow us to fund part of it. I don't know.
That was the plan, was to do that.
And I think, Member Nelson, to your point, like, you want that to be a nice entry point and obviously a memorial to and the history of our community. One of the ideas that comes to mind is that, first of all, I want to know how much it's going to cost and what kind of community effort we can get behind, because I'm sure the state's not really excited about us spending, discretionarily, but just try to figure out exactly what the community wants in terms of a park, what resources we can pull together from the community, and maybe we can look at, maybe some of the money we would normally budget for sidewalks, because a lot of this money tends to go to sidewalks, and go, okay, CDBG paid for the sidewalks, we can, look a little bit over here, but I think there's a way we can do something nice that's economical without having to go through $100,000 study about a pocket park. That's just kind of my opinion on the matter, but I think there's definitely a way we can probably make some traction on it. Member Nelson?
Miss Tony is jumping up and
I
down.
know, well, again, we wanted to have our conversation.
He
I was gonna-
probably knows the regulation.
All right, does anybody else have anything? All right, Ms. Schifolo? May I speak? Yes. I'll put in a card. Thank you. I was just letting us have our discussion, and I saw you jumping back there. I wasn't going to forget to call on you.
Thank you. Yes, the city has already acknowledged that we could have, that the concerned citizens, that area, this neighborhood, Joinerville, South Street, could have that piece of property. What the problem was that HUD wouldn't allow us to put in a pocket park because it being on South Street, it would not serve just that community, but would be citywide. Now, there are alternative funding sources. AARP has a number of grants that are available for livable cities, for beautification, for community placemaking. And so if the city will not take that property back, but allow us to continue researching in this community, I think that we could do something with this area, including the memorial wall that the neighborhood really wants. And there's a specific couple of people, I believe Miss Golden's aunt has wanted to make a memorial wall even on her private property. But this would be the place for it because it does face. And there had been a problem with blues and the congregation of non-domino playing guys gathering every afternoon. And so there was a worry in the community about that little park would have been taken over by that. But I think that we can work around that. So thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Schifolo. And I think there's a way that we can kind of have the best of both worlds. You can maybe put a little stormwater in there and at the same time, put a little monument in there called a reflecting pond.
Yes.
So, Member Nelson, did you?
That's what I was thinking, reflecting pond.
All right, anybody else have any discussion? Anybody want to entertain a motion?
Move to approve the 26-27 Community Service Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan and authorize the Neighborhood Services Director and/or mayor to sign grant application and certification forms.
Second.
I have a motion by Member Nelson, a second by Member Stokel. Any further discussion? Seeing none, City Clerk?
Mayor Connors,
Yes.
Member Stokel,
Yes.
Member Moscoso,
Yes.
Member Nelson.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys being here. City Manager?
Next item is 9B, the ordinance number 11-2026, the Aerospace and Light Manufacturing Ordinance. And the action is to conduct the final reading and public hearing of the Aerospace and Light Manufacturing Ordinance number 11-2026. And Brad Parrish will read the ordinance for the record.
An ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances relating to uses within the Planned Industrial Development, PID zoning district to allow child care facilities as a limited use and standalone parking structures as a limited use, and to expand the definition of light manufacturing to include aerospace and defense-related research and manufacturing by amending sections 28-54 use table, 28-110 child care facility, 28-154 parking structures, and 28-210 light manufacturing, providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinances, incorporation into the code, and an effective date. This was brought to the Planning and Zoning Commission on June 3rd. They recommended approval of the Aerospace and Light Manufacturing Ordinance as drafted to them with the following recommended changes to Section 28-110, Child Care Facility, Paragraph C, 1A. A conditional use permit is not required when a child care facility is approved as part of an approved or existing PID or master plan when it is an accessory use to the principal use. Also, they recommended the following change to Section 28-154, parking structures in the planned development, PID zoning district. Parking structures may be approved as part of an approved or existing PID or master plan when it is an accessory use to the principal use. The motion also approved the use of the definitions provided by Member Troutman to be included in the ordinance. Mr. Troutman's, or Member Troutman's recommendations were very specific. We believe that the definitions that we provided in the ordinance is sufficient. We do not, and the staff does not have any, so aside from that, we don't have any objection to what the P&Z's recommendations are. However, we do recommend approving the ordinance as drafted and stated to you tonight with the following change since your last meeting, since your last public hearing. If you'll see on page 799 of your packet, the definition of light manufacturing, we've kept it the same. That is existing language. We didn't touch it. We initially showed you some language added to that definition at your first public hearing. That is also what P&Z saw. At your first, I'm sorry, P&Z did see the new version that I'm going to show you. You made some comments, and based on your discussion, we are proposing the following change, which is on page 800 of your packet. You'll see that under that section of light manufacturing, which is allowed in various zoning districts, including the Planned Industrial Development zoning district, we've added another paragraph, subparagraph E, which states light manufacturing activities permitted in the PID south of State Road 405 and east of State Road 407. Light manufacturing activities, including but not limited to aerospace and defense-related research and manufacturing, and so on. So we've carried it over to this particular section of this ordinance. We still believe that these types of uses are consistent with light industrial. I think some of the concerns you had at your last meeting was, are we expanding these types of uses into the downtown? We don't believe that's the case. We believe that those are already allowed in the downtown with the conditions and controls that are currently existing inside the code. So with that, I'll try and answer any questions you have.
Not seeing any, Mr. Parrish. Thank you very much. City Clerk?
Good evening, Jesse Wright, 3550 South Washington Avenue. I'm definitely for this. I don't see why the aerospace industries should be just across the river. I think they should come down to this side, and it will definitely generate jobs. I can certainly use that in my mall in terms of occupancy, and so I'm definitely for this. I think everything pretty much, as Brad mentioned, is within compliance. I'd like to also discuss the fact that I'm probably the only developer that cares about the environment and the leaks from gas stations. I'm going to publicly announce that we are going to go after Cumberland Farm and Shell Station that has been leaking for the last 15 to 20 years. And the findings that we're going to find through this lawsuit, we will be sharing it out there. I'm sure if they've done this in 1 or 2 gas stations, they've probably done it in other areas. This is something that I believe that the city council should consider once we get the data. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. City Clerk?
Robert Goltz.
Mayor and Council, Robert Goltz, President CEO of the Titusville Area Chamber of Commerce. I'm in favor of moving forward with this, just one blank, sorry, ordinance. I did economic development for over 10 years in New Jersey and believe that this will help in our economic development of our community and higher wages and better work for our better work and higher wages for our current residents. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. City Clerk?
Michael Myjack.
Being an engineer, I understand what light manufacturing is. What I don't understand is why we have to change the definition of light manufacturing. I don't mind the other conditions, the childcare facility, the parking garage, that all makes sense. But why are we changing the definition of light manufacturing? Aerospace manufacturing is the same as manufacturing weapons. It's the same as manufacturing metal machinery. So why is this special? Is this just a political stunt? Oh, yes, we're honoring the space program. Let's get them over here and start building. What I'm concerned is feature creep. We have a definition of industrial, light industrial. What are we changing to that specifically? Do you know? And if not, why? Because we already have light manufacturing. We've been doing light manufacturing for years. We've been doing aerospace manufacturing and rocket building and stacking over here. I mean, for years. So why the sudden change? Why the requirement for a change in that definition? The rest of it I don't mind, but I don't think we need to go that far. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. City Clerk?
Elizabeth Parker.
Back again on the ordinance. I agree with Mr. Myjack, and I'm also concerned that maybe we should redefine, but in a different way. Because when you look at what's happening across the country right now, areas like the property that we have surrounding the airport down on US 1, big vacant piece of land adjacent to water, is ripe for the picking for one particular industry that brings virtually no jobs after it's been built out, but will use all of our power and all of our water. And I think Kathleen addressed this when this was brought up at our last meeting. That would be data centers. And my question, or maybe even a concern, is why don't we rewrite the ordinance just a little bit further and exclude the development of data centers in our city? Thank you.
Thank you very much. City Clerk?
Elizabeth Baker.
So I'm asking that you table this for a number of reasons. One was we ended up with kind of a bare minimum notice on this, and I think that we can do better than that. the light manufacturing, it is really vague. There's way too many questions here. Light in manufacturing with aerospace means a whole lot of things. Epoxies, solvents, gases, TEC, MEK, things that are heavy and caustic materials that, if affecting the lagoon, really makes it contradictory to the fact that our Sorrel program is going to be asking for a half-cent tax from residents that we've been paying for 10 years, and now we have the potential to add a whole lot of pollution to the Indian River Lagoon. So it really is contradictory to what Sorrel has been doing. We really need to take a pause and make sure that those definitions are very, very clear and that safety measures are in place. We also don't have any real answers on infrastructure. How many jobs are going to come in here? That's going to be really important to our roads, to our sewers, to our water. We have lots of concerns here. This also, I'm concerned because of those things, how this could possibly end up violating the comprehensive plan later on down the road if we're not clear here now, and an industry comes in and they decide they want another zoning ordinance. What are we going to do then? What happens then? There's some red flags that pop up for me on this about the child care centers and parking garages. These are accessory uses, but they're not typical industrial needs. So it seems like this is being tailored for specific aerospace or defense companies. And I'm very concerned about that. It does suggest that this is being written for a single large employer. I have to say the Mayor's Ball fundraiser, you did get sponsorship from aerospace companies. Was there discussion? Have you guys met with any of these contractors or representatives? Those aren't real clear answers there either. And yes, data centers. Does this open us up for the possibility of having data centers in Titusville? I think before anybody moves forward on this at all, again, I'm not asking you to say no. I'm asking you to table this until we have clear answers. But we have to have those clear answers. So please take that into consideration, because the future of all of our residents is absolutely at stake here. With a data center, we could end up having rolling blackouts, loss of water. You know the drill. So
Thank you very much. City Clerk?
Darcia Bear.
I can't hear you.
Darcia Bear.
Obviously, reading over this ordinance as a citizen is difficult to understand. I don't have access to staff to ask questions, and while I try to research and learn and understand what's being suggested, why and who ultimately want this change. As a citizen, it's hard not to question the motives behind this change. It's hard not to wonder what lobbyist is behind this change. It's hard not to question the motivation of who may get kickbacks from this change. While I support the space industry that is here, I wonder what type of facility would this ordinance change welcome? While some activities are straightforward, others are less obvious. Do aerospace and defense manufacturing require excessive use of our already limited water resources? We do, after all, buy water monthly from COCO. What will prevent development of a data center in this space? What type of protections will there be when and if there's an environmental incident that impacts our local environment and communities? Thank you.
Thank you very much. City Clerk?
The last card is William Young.
Bill?
I'm sorry, I'm old. Bill Young, but I'm old. But I've been here since 1957. But in 57, we didn't, I'm not sure I'm talking about the right thing, but I think you're trying to build something on the river, and you're going to, is that what this is about?
No.
I thought we were going to fill in land.
No.
And no, that's the next one? That's C?
Yeah, but they got continued to. Yeah. City Clerk?
No more cards.
No. All right. As you can see in your packet, you have a letter of support from the airport. And it looks like the director of the airport is here, and most of the PID land is at the airport to support their ongoing economic development efforts, as well as a letter of support from the EDC, as our current planned industrial development language did not allow for things like welding or manufacturing. Just clarifying aerospace and defense in the code made a lot of sense, which is why I brought it up to council. Council agreed and asked staff to work on an ordinance. So that's how we got from A to B. I believe very strongly in the future of this community. All of us last Saturday got together at our council retreat, and we had a unifying vision. And we believe that in the next 10 years, we're going to make Titusville the most prosperous community in Brevard County. That was what was centering around all of our decisions. And as we look at things in our code that are holding us back from economic growth, because the space industry is going to build across the river whether we want it to or not, the fact that it's in our community and can then contribute to our community through taxation, through helping us with roads, stormwater infrastructure, all those things are very, very much needed, especially as we look at the potential elimination of homesteaded property taxes. So I don't think this is a maybe. This is an absolute necessity, in my opinion. Member Nelson?
And I'm going to say, reading this, I don't think there's any way that this is going to authorize a data center.
Thinking and knowing are two different things.
Okay. The attorney in me says reading it.
Talking your mic.
The attorney in me says reading it, it will not allow a data center. 100%.
All right, excuse me, ma'am. Member Nelson has the floor. Member Moscoso, you have the floor.
Okay, staff, can you confirm that this would not be a data center?
I have no information that we have a data center being proposed.
Okay. I kind of wrote something out just because I want to make sure I get all of my points in. I did spend a considerable amount of time discussing this with our staff. Actually, I was in support of this when I first read it, because I do understand the importance, and we did talk about of getting this commercial investment and the manufacturing here in Titusville, especially as you mentioned, with property taxes in our future. And I think that's why I even wanted to be careful and make sure that we just centered it around the airport. However, as I look at the ordinance, it does feel like it is tailored to accommodate a certain company. At the same time, the ordinance is moving forward without the public, without members of the council. For me, I don't know about you guys, having a clear understanding of who this company is. I've asked that question. How many jobs would be created? I've been told it'll create a lot of jobs. And then what is actually being proposed? I know that some of our staff have signed NDAs and they're limited to what they can share. But from my perspective, I'm being asked to vote and not knowing about a project that is driving this request. So my concern is the unintended consequences. If I feel like staff could have said this is not going to be a data center, that would have helped a lot of my questions. I do know that there have been discussions about data centers here in District 1, and I'm not saying that this is what it is. However, across the country, these centers are often approved because local ordinances and land use regulations have been adjusted in advance to accommodate these. And these are often made before the project is actually publicly known. Can that happen here? I don't know. I absolutely hope it doesn't, but I'm not comfortable creating a new pathway without fully understanding what is behind it. Now, if I understood who this company was, what jobs they were bringing, absolutely, that could definitely change my mind, but I don't have that information, and I am scared to move forward without knowing those things because it is extremely tailored, in my opinion, to something.
Member Nelson.
I understand what you're saying. Most of the time, we have requests when people are working with ordinances and they all of a sudden see something that's holding them back. So that part doesn't really bother me as much. Sometimes people coming up, Jesse comes up, I won't pick on you, and says, if we could change this ordinance in a certain way, I can move forward with this project. So, really, other than TEC sitting there staring at some of our ordinances, our land development regulations, for the most part, it is people coming up and saying, hey, I need help here.
Yeah.
So, I look at it and read some of these definitions and go, I really can't see this happening.
I agree with you saying someone coming up, but we don't know who is coming up. Our staff has signed NDAs, and they can't tell me who is coming up. So that is my concern. If I could know who was coming up and the jobs it would bring, it would just be an easier decision, I think, for me.
What if you asked Ms. Treasurer about the data centers? Would this allow a data center?
I just asked the staff. I think Brad mentioned it, it could.
I've not been approached about a data center as whether it's consistent with our code, so I don't have a good answer for you. It really depends on what's submitted to us. So when we receive an application for any kind of project, we ask a lot of questions, even in any kind of industrial use, especially because their processes and their business models are always different. And we try to see how that fits within the definitions and the use that we have listed and permitted in different zoning districts. Data center, from the information that I've reviewed, is very intense, very large. They may exceed the floor area ratio. They may require certain resources that will exceed a level of service standards for water consumption or whatever that might be. They wouldn't be able to go forward if they did that. So it really depends on what is proposed to us to see how that could fit in with any kind of use classification we have in our zoning code and what other requirements they may have. But from my understanding, I think it'll be very difficult based on the number of properties that we have available and the conditions that we have in the various zoning districts that we have and different zoning uses as well. So that's really the best answer I can give you until I see an actual application brought before us. We did provide to you, you did bring this issue up at your last meeting, and I did provide to you a report from the American Planning Association that I hope you had a chance to review. If you are concerned about this topic, as many other communities in the state of Florida are, I would recommend that then maybe we can come back to you with some recommendations of changes to the code specific to that use, with conditions that may be limited to that particular type of use. That way, it's very clear that if we do get or confronted with or proposed with a data center of some sort, that we have a clear definition of what that is. And then there's no question. And that we then would have limitations that we can impose depending on what that is, whether it's a public hearing or whatnot.
Thank you. Yeah, I would love that. I will tell you, this is probably one of the hardest decisions I've made on council because I understand that we are going to need this money. We are going to need these jobs. It's just, it's the unknown and the fact that if this company is so great, why are there NDAs signed? That's my big question.
Thank you. Something to also just point out when it regards to data centers, because everybody talks about how much water they use. We already have a built-in checks and balances in our community that anybody needs them over 10,000 gallons of water a day, they have to come before us for approval. So I think, the code aside, I think Brad's still, very not really baked into the code at this point, but we have checks and balances in place. Member Stokel?
Yes, I had some of the same questions and concerns that have been mentioned already. So a couple things that I got from staff. One, Brad is saying he has not been approached by a data center, so I can use deductive reasoning there. Two, and Brad, you can clarify this, if a data center was interested in coming to us, this ordinance doesn't make it easier for them to come. They can still come. This isn't adjusting that. So if this gets passed or doesn't get passed, a data center has just as much right. They haven't analyzed the code for that. They would do that, but this isn't opening it up and making it easier for them. So that made me feel a lot better. The other issue I had, and I think Member Moscoso brought this up last time, was it expanding beyond the airport. And I got clarification that if they did want to do this in downtown, those have to have public hearings. So there is some safeguards in there with certain conditions that they would have to abide by. And then lastly, and Brad just touched on this, could we potentially seek advisability if we are concerned about data centers to see what can we do legally to try to prevent that from happening? I just don't know legally what we can do. So I think those would be kind of what I think that we should do moving forward, knowing that, yes, there's NDAs, and unfortunately we can't know those things, but knowing that it's aerospace, knowing what we're trying to do for commercial and industry that we speak about a lot, I would be in favor of this.
All right, thank you very much. Looks like there's no further discussion. Member Nelson?
I'm just going to say this to Megan. When I grew up around here, so when Disney came in, there were NDAs all over the place. Nobody knew that Disney was coming until the last minute. And my stepfather was one of the attorneys working on that project. So I think the reason for people not wanting to have their name out there is so that they can tie up property before they let everybody know. It's not like Disney wanted that 1,000 acres. You don't want Joe Smith coming over, buying that 1,000 acres and offering it to you for double the money. So, any rate, my motion would be to approve ordinance number 11-2026, aerospace and light manufacturing, and also to provide, ask staff to provide advisability to prohibit data centers.
Can we take them one at a time, please?
Is that the same ordinance, or are we talking about a separate action?
Separate.
It's a separate action.
Okay.
I'll take them one at a time.
One at a time. Move to approve ordinance number 11-2026.
I have a motion by Member Nelson.
Second, and then clarification with conditions of that P and Z recommended.
I was going to put those in there.
It was with the child care facility.
Yeah, as
I had asked staff about it, and they seemed to be, I don't know if they had opinion on it.
Didn't object to P and Z's recommendations. It's an easy tweak to the ordinance. But for simplicity, we believe what we've written is enough.
Okay.
I sort of read it and it made sense.
Okay. My second will still stand regardless.
All right, so I have a motion by Member Nelson to approve as written, and second by Member Stokel. Any further discussion? Seeing none, City Clerk.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Moscoso?
No.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Connors?
Yes, motion carries. Thank you very much. City Manager, I believe the floor is yours.
Can we talk about the advisability?
Okay. Member Nelson?
Advisability about data centers, if we could have that back.
I'll second that one.
There's a motion by Member Nelson and a second by Member Moscoso, and I believe.
Mayor, could we get a clarification on what exactly you want out of this advisability?
Basically, can we prohibit data centers? What do we need to do to stop them?
Yeah, that, we can do that. So
Yeah.
if we can't, then we'll also provide you the alternatives.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, because who knows, there could be a new state preemption tomorrow that, hinders us. So, but by the way, we still got to vote. Member Nelson motioned, Member Moscoso second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Staff, you have your marching orders. Mr. Abate.
Yes, sir. I have nothing for info or action on my city manager report. I'm going to turn it over to the city attorney, who has some items of.
Oh, it's not your report time. We skipped over new business and petitions and requests. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said turn it over to me.
Yeah. Oh. I know, right? All right, so now we're at petitions and requests, the second go-round. So if you already spoke the first time. Seeing none, petitions and requests, on to council reports. I have one item on my report. It's another issue with our code that I wanted to bring up. Oh, we did? Mr. Young, did you have a petition or request?
Yeah, I have something to say.
Okay.
Sorry, I can't hear very well.
It's all good.
This is old age. Okay. 9C, River Palms 2. It wasn't in 1957, but 8 to 10 years ago, we passed a bill to have a $10 million bond issue to buy riverfront property to make into parks. We had some big giant condos built on the river, like the other one across from the street from the high school. But I remember being with a group of people who pushed for a bond issue to be made and the city to move forward on buying up all the riverfront property to turn into parks. So across from the Mexican restaurant, there's a park that was bought under the bond issue. The $10 million, it could have been $5 million, but it turned out to be $10 million to buy all that riverfront property. And now you have a thing here that says you're going to fill in land, the river, to build something there that I thought was supposed to be a park, that I've been wondering why for all these years, Ms. Lawyer. What happened to that bond issue that land wasn't bought like all the other pieces of property on that bond issue and turned into parks? That place should be a park, not going to be built on and not filling in the river. Something's not right here. Why wasn't that bought back then like the others were? And I paid more taxes for that bond issue and I didn't get my park?
Thank you very much. I believe you already spoke at the first petitions and requests.
This is the second, isn't it?
Yes, and you can only speak at one of the two. Thank you. Seeing none, moving on to mayor and council reports. I just have one item that I brought up. I put on my report, pet grooming services. I think it's interesting how we kind of laid that out back in the day there's a pet groomer in town. I don't think anybody has an issue with pet grooming. I mean, they don't kennel dogs, they don't treat them, they just, you drop them off, get their hair cut, nails clipped, and pick them up. And so there's a business owner in town who has a pet grooming place currently in neighborhood commercial, if Brad told me correctly, and bought a new building on a commercial corridor right off US 1 and Harrison, and it's zoned neighborhood commercial and now can't go into effect there. And I think that's kind of weird when you look at it, because you're like, okay, how is this able to be BTR'd back in the day, but now it can't, and it's just the local business owner who, if you look at the building, I think it would be really nice if it, was taken over and upgraded and made to look nice and operate a business. And then the other issue you have just on the Harrison Street corridor is, all those homes used to be residential, correct? And now, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, City of Titusville said they're all commercial. Well, we, by unfortunately our own doing, made commercial zoning on residential lots. So we created a bunch of non-conforming issues back in the day where it's hard to put in parking or the right things to actually open up a business in that area. It's almost to the point where the city basically said you can't do anything with your property. And so I just lay it before council that this is an issue with pet grooming in some of these zoning districts, and want to see what you guys' thoughts were. Member Nelson?
Where on Harrison are you?
Right by Titus Landing, right across the street.
Oh.
Right next
You're
to an
right,
actual
that
hair
doesn't-
salon.
That does not make sense. So I would say we need to change that.
Member Stokel?
That was kind of my question. How is it not allowed? Is it because we don't say the word specific pet grooming, or is it, how do we know it's not already allowed?
Because we have a section of our code, which I attached to my report, section 28-157. If you look at the zoning chart, neighborhood commercial, it's not permitted. It's only permitted in RC, CC, and some of the other higher industrial areas or higher commercial areas.
Pet grooming specifically?
Pet grooming specifically, which is different than pet kenneling or veterinary service or shelter. So it's kind of interesting. Mr. Parrish?
We did look into the history of this, and this has
Okay.
been in existence for several decades, even before the restructure of the code in 2017 and the rezoning in 1993. So it was in the previous code. So I'm not sure how it was applied over the years, or how that one in particular instance that the mayor mentioned on Garden Street, which is in the same zoning, neighborhood commercial, was approved. It might have been approved several decades before when it was allowed. I'm not sure. But currently, right now, on properties that are zoned neighborhood commercial, which is a really low intense kind of commercial zoning, very restrictive, pet grooming is a prohibited use.
Okay.
I mean, the way I look at it, I think pet grooming is very, very low intense commercial. You drop off your dog, they get clipped, and then you pick them up. So,
It says here, in the Indian River City neighborhood commercial, it is allowed?
That's correct.
Okay, so it's allowed in the Indian River City neighborhood commercial, but not in our neighborhood commercial. Okay, I feel like this is an easy one.
Okay. The conditions on there you see for the neighborhood commercial and the other zoning district, urban mixed use. The only thing I would suggest is if you do want to expand this into this zoning district, do you want to consider specific conditions or make it permitted by right? Permitted by right would not have no conditions whatsoever or limitations. So I can see the only reason that some conditions in there is that you see there for under Indian River City, screening from view from adjoining properties. I'm not sure why, other than the fact that maybe they were housing pets in certain areas and they wanted those to be screened.
Okay,
Same thing under urban mixed use.
okay.
yeah, I think the condition number 2 in Indian River City Commercial Zoning District, I think that's actually more freedom than what I was thinking, to be honest with you. Because they said shall allow boarding as an accessory use. And I wasn't thinking that we should permit boarding in this type of zoning district, but allow them limited without, 24-hour, on-site dog care. I think that made the most sense. Well, I said my piece. It's whatever you guys want to do. Is there any cards on my report? No. Well, this would have to definitely come before us if council decided to take any action.
But do you need consensus from us?
Well,
I guess
yeah,
that
I think that's, a motion.
We would need direction from you as to what to do. Do you want us to draft an ordinance?
Clean it up. That's, it feels not consistent.
That sounds like an ordinance to me, though.
Yep.
Yeah. Anytime you clean up the ordinance, requires an ordinance. Might you make a motion?
My motion would be to clean up the ordinance and bring it back.
Second.
I have a motion by Member Nelson, a second by Member Stokel. Does anybody have any comments about this as it potentially comes back before us? Seeing none. Member Moscoso?
Sorry, do we need to vote on this, or is it just something we can ask Brad to look into? Just so that we're not doing these motions without, I'm just looking at the attorney and she's got her light on.
The direction was to give clear direction to staff about what we want to do. That's why you need the motion in the second. City Attorney?
What is the motion? I'm sorry?
Clean up the ordinance and bring it back.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
So
Allow.
it's essentially, even though we're using the word cleanup, we're amending an ordinance that hasn't been necessarily noticed, correct?
It has, because it's on his report here.
But we're asking
But
staff to
it
work
will be
on it and
noticed
bring it
again
back.
during the ordinance.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we don't
Yeah.
have the ordinance here to read. I just wanted to make sure that whatever it is that we're asking is properly noticed and provided to the public that we're going to take action. And usually the reports don't, but.
Yeah, we're not putting a P on that tonight or an L or anything like that, just giving staff direction.
Okay, and not using the word advisability?
Correct, giving staff direction.
Thanks.
Any other discussion? City Clerk?
Member Moscoso?
Yes.
Member Nelson? Yes. Mayor Connors?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. That concludes my report, guys. Member Moscoso? Member Nelson?
I do have a question. I know we all were invited down to the Aerospace Defense Training Center. I think. Were you invited?
When? Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow.
Okay. The Aerospace Defense Training Center is a nonprofit. It's located over by the police department. They are doing training. I was interested in it. They're training aerospace workers, manufacturing. I was hoping Mr. Abate would allow us to do a 1-minute clip and put it on our website. I was interested in it because as I was talking to him, they have a 10-day class, basically 6 to 8 hours a day. They're saying that when the kids get out, they'll help them find a job. The jobs will start out at $16 to $18 an hour, but after 6 months, they should be making $25 an hour. And for some of our kids that aren't interested in going to college or can't afford to go to college, but need a job, is a wonderful opportunity. The 10-day class is $1,500. So they teach them things like 3D printing, making composites, materials, robotics, all those kind of things so that they can find a job in manufacturing. So my request really is to Mr. Abate, can we do it? Can we
Not
help
only
him find?
we'll do it, we'll also make it a feature article in Titusville Talking Points, our next edition. And we'll get
thank
a
you.
word out on all our social media venues.
Thank you, thank you. And the other request that I have is Tony and Lisa Mosier both talked about the lack of signage over by Boggs Gases. So when you come out the bike trail, there really isn't any signage there. So I don't know how the rest of the council feels, but you sort of feel like you're in a wasteland. And so maybe some extra signs would be appreciated.
I think, from the conversations we've had before, I think all of council supports that. So it's whether.
Just to remind you, several months ago, you asked us to expand that amenities plan, as you heard earlier at the CRA meeting,
Yes, we did.
to include Main Street, which is outside of the CRA. So we are probably going to submit that, I believe, into, at least the cost of that, into the proposed budget.
Okay, good.
That would include the signage and anything else you're talking about along Main Street.
Yeah, because I wondered, because you really wasn't talking about that area
No,
tonight.
because it was, what you heard earlier was funded from the CRA, which cannot be used for that area of Main Street.
Okay. Okay, so we're getting an update for the rest of it at some point. Okay, thank you.
Yes, I believe when we had the initial conversation, we all were in support of the other side, but again, that was CRA, so it had to stay to CRA. And then the ADTC, I don't know when, they might have sent me a new invite, but I was up there for their open house before they even had their CO. It is a really amazing organization. It's a great nonprofit that's trying to train the next generation of workers here in Titusville. Member Stokel?
Yes. Yesterday we had our Space Coast League of Cities meeting. It was hosted by Melbourne Village and City of West Melbourne. Great presentation. Colonel Chapman also did a presentation during the public comment portion on, with the Blue Origin incident, what their response time was to ensuring everyone was safe, air quality testing. It was really nice to see that update shared. And then they had the chamber president for Palm Bay speak, which was one of the best presentations I've seen, just talking about making sure like our whole county and the Space Coast is working collaboratively as industries looking to come here. We're not competing against each other. We're working together to see how we can complement one another. Industry is really looking at that. And so that was good to see. And then hearing from the mayor of Melbourne Village was kind of sad. talking about property taxes and what's coming to the ballot, she kind of shared the history of Melbourne Village and how they're a really strong community, very small community. I think they have about 700 residents. But they chose to be incorporated, and that's what we love about home rule, is you get to decide, how do you want your city run? Do you want to pay extra for quality services? Do you want to decrease and have a little bit lower quality services? But basically, if this were to pass, I don't think they would potentially be a village anymore. And so just keeping that in mind, branching into the Florida League of Cities, there's 411 cities, towns, and villages throughout the state. And so as you're seeing information about property taxes, it's going to impact us as the city of Titusville one way, and then it will impact every city throughout the state differently. And so there'll be a lot of education going on, and I think that for me personally is that's the biggest thing, is I want citizens to make informed decisions, understanding, and that's why I like home rule so much. And I was just taking down notes of, things that, our community is telling us they want us to fund, somebody to manage the tree canopy, having that coordinator, potentially having more staff if TEC does want to meet twice a month, making sure we could have a park or a memorial. Like, if our citizens want to pay for those things, they know that, and they have that opportunity, during our budget hearings, maybe we do raise taxes a little bit to have those quality services, or we're able to pave 6 to 7 miles of road, or we say, no, you know what, we don't, our roads are fine, let's scale it back and lower our taxes to pave only 3. But that's the beauty of this discussion, and where we have residents come and tell us where to trim. And that's something that I know for me personally, as we go through this budget cycle, is, wanting to see from residents, do you want us to add things? Where do you want us to cut? If you're saying you're not happy with the services, or you are happy with the services, but we need to scale back here, having those honest discussions. And I hope that happens throughout the state, like I said, just for people to be able to make those informed decisions.
Thank you for your report. City Manager?
Sir, as I stated earlier, I have no info or action items on my report. However, the city attorney has some issues to discuss.
City Attorney, you're up.
Issues, I have 2 points. The first one is, as indicated in my report, the Royal Oak transmittal denial. We had informal mediation May 28th, and the applicant wanted me to present a request to council. In summary, just the applicant is requesting to present an amended site plan and amended application before council. The applicant wants council to rescind the previous order denying the transmittal of the proposed comp amendment. If council wants to rescind such an order, under Robert Rules of Order, any council member or members may verbally provide notice of their intent to make a future motion to rescind the order. That motion, if made at the future hearing, has to be seconded like a regular motion, and a majority of vote to rescind such an order. Again, this is a request that the applicant made at the informal mediation and wanted me to present this before council. And I think my report has more detail. There is another way for the applicant to bring the amended proposal before council under ordinance to resubmit an application. Again, the applicant did not want to do so because of the starting over the process, as well as the applicant will be subjected to the process of public hearings going before P&Z and following the process.
Thank you very much, City Attorney. Member Nelson?
Well, since I made the motion, I will say I'm not going to rescind it. So, no. Well, hold on. That being, hold on, don't get totally excited. We are in the middle of a lawsuit, and I think it would be helpful to have at some point, I understand they made an offer. Is that correct?
Without going into litigation matters publicly, they did provide a settlement letter. If it is to be discussed with council, it would be at an executive session.
So I would like to see us have an executive session, because I think it would be helpful for us to look at how strong or how weak their lawsuit is, what they're proposing, I think we need to also think about the condition of the stormwater system in Royal Oak. I think there's a lot of things that we need to sit down and think about. Is that helpful or not helpful?
It sets council's discretion. If you're wanting an executive session, I definitely can speak with the applicant and see if the settlement offer is still on the table. Part of it was contingent on the request tonight, so again, I would have to speak with opposing counsel and get back to council.
Okay, so that would be my request, is we meet in executive session and discuss it.
Member Nelson, I'm assuming the city attorney will see the need for an executive session as the case or, litigation unfolds, correct?
Correct, yes, because again, the settlement offer letter was contingent on whatever action council may or may not take tonight.
Well, city attorney, I don't see anybody lighting up the phone dial here to make a motion or to give an example notice to do anything at this point. Am I correct in assuming that?
You're correct.
Okay, so we ain't taking any action on it. But you guys want to speak, I mean, we can definitely allow you to speak, but, again, I think council made their wishes known clear and nothing's changing with that at this point. City clerk, you want to call the cards?
Vicky Conklin.
Thank you for those comments, Vicki Conklin. On behalf of Royal Oak Neighbors LLC, members and stakeholders, we request that the council abide by the unanimous vote on February 10th to deny the comprehensive plan amendment number 2, 2025. That was submitted by Toulon Apartments LLC. That vote also directed the staff to conduct a small area study to guide the redevelopment of the area. And that study process is in full swing with staff, citizen engagement, and professional services of a third party to ensure due diligence. So it seems that that's pretty important, that study occur, and it's actively, Mr. Abadi has been really welcoming to us. We've met with him, and there's a lot of things happening with the companies that can be considered. So we feel really positive about that. And that's I don't think anything else should happen until that study is done. So you mentioned there's not going to be a recension, and we appreciate that because that motion really would need to be at the meeting that occurred or the meeting that was consecutively after that, and that was February 10th. Today's June 9th. So it seems that for the applicant to sue the city because the city refused to violate the comprehensive plan for them seems disingenuous. So if the applicant has a new plan, they have the option of submitting that plan through the normal processes of staff review, planning and zoning, and city council. That's what all applicants have to do. They shouldn't be treated any differently.
Thank you. City clerk?
Seth Adams.
Seth?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I'm here tonight to encourage you to stand by your previous decision regarding the Royal Oak property. The question before you should not be whether rescinding your denial might make a lawsuit go away. The question should be whether there is any new planning, environmental drainage, infrastructure, or legal evidence that justifies reversing a decision that was reached after extensive public review. From what has been presented, there is no significant new evidence. The primary change appears to be just the existence of litigation only. That's the only new change here. Lawsuits should not become a tool for influencing land use decisions. If a property owner can obtain reconsideration simply by filing suit and then offering to drop the lawsuit if elected officials reverse their vote, it creates a dangerous precedent. Every future applicant would receive the message that the path to rezoning is not through the planning process, but through legal pressure. This council already considered the facts. Planning and zoning considered the facts. Both bodies reached the same conclusion. The property owner purchased this land knowing its existing land use designation. They continue to have their use of the property under those existing rights. No one has taken anything away from them. Meanwhile, serious questions remain unanswered. Drainage, recharge areas, residents still, we need some answers about stormwater impacts and that sort of thing. There's questions regarding historical drainage parcels, easements, and things like that. But more importantly, council should remember that you are under no obligation to change the law for a private applicant. You are under no obligation to do them any favors. Rezoning is not owed. It's not automatic. It should only occur when it serves the public interest. I want to let you know that many residents are paying attention tonight. They're watching. We appreciate the difficult position you have been placed in, and we will support you when you stand by your principles. When you're doing the right thing, we support you. Follow the evidence, protect the integrity of Titusville's planning process. Please do not allow litigation pressure to substitute for sound planning. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I know tonight was anticlimactic because there's no motion. It's the absence of doing something that is the doing something. So, City Clerk.
Elizabeth Parker.
All right, I'll do my best not to repeat anything anybody else has said to shorten my time. Elizabeth Parker, Trevino Circle, as you know. Thank you for preserving the integrity of our planning processes, respecting adopted procedures, and ensuring future decisions are based on competent, substantial evidence and not litigation pressure. We're all really grateful for that and the fact that you recognize this. Of course, we know the issue before council is not whether rescission would settle a lawsuit. The issue is whether a legitimate planning basis exists to reopen a completed legislative action. As far as I know, no new environmental infrastructure, hydrologic, or planning evidence has been presented other than the existence of litigation and that the applicant has developed a new plan. But his concept plan is not a controlling issue. Council is being asked whether this property should be redesignated from conservation, open space, recreation to a higher density residential use, and that decision must be based on the property's characteristics, not a conceptual development sketch that can change over time, as we've seen happen over and over again when we rezone properties in this city. We already know this property sits at the center of a regional drainage basin, contains extensive soil 52 Candler sand, recharge soils, functions as a recharge and stormwater collection area, and serves as the northern feeder to the city's area of critical concern. Additionally, important legal questions also remain unresolved. The recorded documents show that Royal Oak Development conveyed 6 drainage parcels to the city in 1964, and in 1965, as I addressed earlier, the recorded plat dedicated the streets, parks, canals, and drainage easements to the perpetual use of the public, and those dedications were accepted by the city. These questions are important to resolve, especially as the city is not only defending this litigation from this developer, who, by the way, has full and fair use of the property as it was owned, as he purchased it, and is not being denied, and therefore really, as far as I can tell, has no basis for his lawsuit. But there's also some litigation coming from the south end of the golf course near the area of critical concern with regard to the maintenance of portions of the same drainage systems that I've been discussing. I respectfully I respectfully thank council for declining to rescind the final order of denial because there is no clear legal and planning basis to require a completion. There is no reason to not deny this. Again, regarding the small area study, I'd like to see the RFP. I'd like to see it published so that more than the selected bidders can bid on it. And I hope that it includes hydrology, hydrogeology, aquifer recharge, basin-wide stormwater function, flood storage, wetlands, infrastructure impacts, and public dedications and recorded easements.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. City Clerk?
Kathleen Flynn.
Good evening, Council. I'm Kathleen Flynn, and I live at 2805 Player Court. My husband and I own a home that abuts the former Royal Oak Golf Course at the 8th Fairway. We are concerned about potential flooding that higher density housing and small lots would most likely create. We are very grateful that the council listened to the concerns of over 120 residents who attended the meeting on February 10th and unanimously voted to deny the large-scale comprehensive plan amendment submitted by Toulon Apartments on behalf of Coulter Realty, or Coulter Homes. My understanding of the rules of the City Council listed in the municipal code state that if any reconsideration of a motion is made, it can only be made at that meeting or the meeting immediately following. The meeting in which the vote occurred was 4 months ago. Any new plan should be required to go through normal application procedures, not permitted to take a shortcut and bend the rules to fit the desire of the developer. For the applicant to hint that, quote, pending litigation might be resolved, unquote, in my opinion, reeks of bribery, not full transparency. Please follow the rules of the City Council, Section 2-26 of the Municipal Code, and also allow the small area study to take place before any further action on this property is taken. That's really the only responsible decision tonight. And I guess that wasn't necessary to say that since it's not being taken tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. City Clerk?
The last card is Earl Johnson. Earl Johnson.
Sorry there, I'm hearing impaired, so. Well, with the mediation, Royal Oak mediation now complete, the applicant's attorney has suggested, well, at least what appears to me anyway, somewhat of a ludicrous action to council that really has no basis in city rules or city governance. Because what they've requested, if I'm reading this correctly, is that a council member should rescind their vote as of February 10th, 18 weeks ago. And this does not comport with any city rules. And according to the city rules, in fact, Rule 13, which is the only thing that could possibly apply here, can only be invoked at the meeting immediately after. So this was like 18 weeks ago. So they've missed the window of opportunity here, in my opinion. So anyway, 8 council meetings have passed, not one. So there are no city rules that support the action they've requested. And the other thing that kind of puzzled me here, according to what the applicant actually advanced, that the city attorney stated, any prior decision of a council, regardless of how long ago, could be overturned or revisited. I mean, that's just, really? Prior councils you can overturn? I mean, this clearly this is absurd. I mean, so to me, that this is just so ludicrous that it really doesn't even merit any serious attention or consideration on their part. I am also a little bit surprised that the city attorney did not mention, when she mentioned Robert Rules of Order, that in the city rules, it explicitly says the city rules override Robert's Rules of Order. And that's why we have Rule 13, because Robert's Rules of Order allowed what the city attorney said, that you could indefinitely change a decision. And Rule 13 explicitly prohibits that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. City Attorney?
The next item on my report is authorization for travel to the 44th FMAA Annual Seminar in July 9th through 11th. The estimated travel cost would be $1,300, and under current policy, if it's over $1,000, I'm asking for City Council's approval, please.
City Clerk? Member Nelson?
Move to approve the travel authorization.
Second.
Motion by Member Nelson, second by Member Stokel. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Motion to adjourn.
We're adjourned.